Momiji. Just another one in the line of units that really just don't want me to have fun in this game. I understand I make bad decisions, but honestly, I'm not even that upset about having Momiji. Up to this point, I had yet to have a magic AOE DPS unit. My first competent AOE DPS unit was the Primal Demon Diablo. Funny enough, they both fucking pierce, so that's fantastic. But go ahead, taking a look at Momiji. As I said, she does pierce, she also gives herself some fire attack, and then she's got the synergy and synergy resistance down. We are going to be taking a look at her in a few different ways. There's a handful of matches in the beatdown battle, and then there's a handful through the tempered edges. And we're only really going to be looking at the final turn. It's a blue stacking team. We have about 400 different blue stacking teams in the game. Even if this is your first ever meta, this game throws so many blue stacking metas at you that even if this was the first banner you ever summoned on, the data, the information for how to use a blue stacking team is so ingrained in this game's code, it probably got downloaded into your head. So we're just going to skip to the nuke turns for everything because we do have a lot to go through. If I included the full match, even sped up, this video would be like 25 minutes long, which I don't want to do. So we're just going to go ahead, speed through this a little bit, and let's get right into the first match with the beatdown battle. This is going to go ahead and be the team we're going to use for the first fight on the beatdown battle, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Everyone here's got buffs, orb changes. I will say that this beatdown battle is about 1,000 times more consistent with Octagram Luminous because I'm actually getting a lot from Lumi. I'm not just getting the ult damage, but also the AOE damage. Even if it's only up to 30%, that's still 30% AOE damage, as well as the team heal and the ult gauge on all orbs. So Lumi is proved to be very fucking useful. But one thing I didn't know before, and I might just be stupid, Lumi's ult damage just stops once you hit 80%. I always thought she would give you 20% 4 times. But no, apparently the wording is super literal, and once you hit 80%, she just stops giving you damage. But 5.5 million, we are also on turn 9 because I also found it more consistent to just try and go to turn 9. This is a pretty decent setup. Most of these characters are characters that have been out for a long time, so not the worst thing to try and put together. Our next thing we're going to try out is going to be with the Shuna. Now, I wanted to replace Lumi with Shuna because I figured maybe the way that her synergy power reacts with Momiji's synergy resistance down might have created a situation where we might get to do more damage, or at least similar damage. We do still do very good damage, but it's not as much. But I don't know, I just had the idea in my head that synergy resistance is already a good buff, synergy power is already a good buff, and then when you use both of them together, they might kind of like play off each other and make each other stronger. So I just wanted to test it out. We do, again, get pretty decent damage, but it is not as much as we get for just using Lumi, especially if you can properly use Lumi and get as many stacks as you can before Benimaru puts you past that 80 ult damage cap for Lumi. Still a decent choice if, let's say, you don't have Octagram Lumi skill fused. Maybe you have her, but she's not skill fused, but you have this Idle Shuna. This Idle Shuna is pretty good, and she sometimes comes in clutch, because sometimes you only need to change one orb and you have 2 ults, and there were times throughout this fight where I would just use her ult swap to greens and then just use Gee's orb change. But going into this, we are going to take a look at her ult again. We're going to take a look at her ult a couple of times in this video, just because it's a damn good ult. I like her ult. It's pretty good. But Shuna, very viable option. I would say pretty much, if any units in the future we get that give synergy power will also be pretty good as well. And 4.45 million, still very good damage for pretty much any player. Like, it's still damn good damage, but obviously it's not 5.5 million. So, Idle Shuna, definitely a usable option, and a niche way to get some good damage, or get some good orb changes, but not the best. This run is actually just me seeing how much lower my damage goes if I don't use Blanc's weakness strike. And the reason behind that was Momiji has so much weakness strike between having type advantage and Benimaru giving her basically double type advantage. And I wanted to see if not having Blanc would be a severe detriment. Because in situations where you can't utilize the weakness strike, meaning situations Momiji does not have type advantage, how much of a crutch are you getting, or how much of a benefit are you getting rid of by not using that weakness strike? Now, we do still have double type advantage here. Let me preface that. The next fights, we won't be using Momiji's, or Blanc's weakness strike, because Momiji just straight up doesn't have type advantage. But let's say you don't have Blanc, but you do have the free-to-play Rieger that came out last month. He's a perfectly viable option as well. This is basically how that would go if Blanc was not there, and instead you were using the free-to-play Rieger for his double ult swap and orange orb change, which low-key might be a better, like a more cohesive team build than having Blanc, because Momiji's synergy resistance overlaps hers. But with that, we get 3.8 million. Pretty decent. I mean, again, still very good damage. Like, even with one of our big-time buffs gone, still very good damage. So if you don't have Blanc, don't worry about even trying to beat Inferno 1. You can beat Inferno 1 and 2 without Blanc. But here we have Tempered Edge Veldora. Now, I don't actually take characters into Tempered Edge Veldora very often, because Veldora is one of those rare occurrences where a CPU actually has a good amount of health, 1.7 million on EX5, and a lot of characters that don't have type advantage just can't kill him. Excuse me, let alone an AOE unit that does not have type advantage. So we are not getting our regular type advantage, we're not getting our buff from Benimaru, and we will not be utilizing the weakness strike. It's a lot of buffs we're not getting that we had in the beatdown battle. But Momiji surprised me, and that's why I think I can confidently say that Momiji is the best AoE nuker in the game. Like, ever. Like, literally ever. And I don't even think it's particularly close. If you can pierce, this Momiji is pretty much a must-run for any AoE stage if you don't have the brand spanking new character in the future to kind of, you know, obviously deal with the beatdown battles. But we've had 2 straight AoE beatdown battles. If we were to get a third one, obviously they would lock Synergy and Pierce, but in about 4 months when you can actually use Synergy and Pierce again, Momiji will be very, very useful, which is another reason why I'm not that mad even about going to pity for her. I would have liked to have been able to summon for something else on this banner, but whatever. 1.6 million. Legitimately, that is more damage than I ever got out of Blanc on this stage. And she has type advantage, and could take advantage of her own weakness strike. And the synergy resistance with Visions of Coleus Luminous. Or if you put her on the light team, she could take advantage of the stun strike and pierce. Like, this AoE unit actually did more than a single target unit with type advantage. I'm sure now I could probably get more out of Blanc, but in the past, I couldn't get more than like 1.5 out of her. So that was really impressive. Here, we are going to, you know, go into my favorite thing, using Overlord Rimuru in the Tempered Edge Gazel. Y'all have seen this how many times? How many times in a video have you seen me use Overlord Rimuru in the Tempered Edge Gazel stage? Because it's the only fucking place I can take him, because this game has no content. But Overlord Rimuru, easily the best protector in the game. Don't fucking yell Vengeance Velzard at me. I don't care! Excuse me, but Rimuru is the best protector in the game for several reasons. Is he the highest damaging protector in the game? No. not even close. So, Momiji is still going to kill. Don't get it twisted. Momiji's still going to kill. And with the types of buffs that she has, she's only getting the Overlord Shizu's ult resistance down. her own buffs and then like 70% attribute buffs from Rimuru. For the amount of damage she does with so little buffs, it once again just drives home the point that this Momiji is really good. 500k, that's what I would have expected her to do with all her buffs. Like when I see AOE units, I don't expect them to do a lot of damage, especially when they don't have type advantage. And they're getting minimal buffs. I have legitimately put more buffs on single target units and gotten roughly the same amount of damage. Now here we just wanted to try her in a stage where she has type disadvantage and the enemy actually has a bit of pierce resistance. Only 40%, but she also again has type disadvantage. And the damage she does, this is why I said her and Benimaru together are really good. Benimaru by himself is terrible, but the two of them together, really fucking good. Because Momiji just annihilates these fuckers. she just beats the shit out of them. Basically 800,000 damage. Type disadvantage. AOE unit. 800k. Bro. Well, I do hope you guys enjoyed that. The video was a bit... Well, I do hope you all enjoyed that. The video was a bit short, but we did a lot. Again, I don't feel the need to give you the breakdown on how every single fight goes. Maybe I'll do it for a future video. Like, I'll actually show the process of getting everything, like, totally unedited. The issue with doing that is this shit takes so long because of the RNG. Like, it took me over an hour to get that Shuna match, by the way. Like, I'm not kidding. It took me almost an hour and a half to get that one run of the Shuna stage, simply because that's when I also realized how valuable Octogram Lumi was, because either someone would die, I wouldn't have any Exalt, or I would get to the end perfectly fine, and then the person I needed to swap out, that being Guy, because he's the only one on that team with a buff that Momiji does not have to be up front in order to receive, he didn't have any fucking orbs. So, yeah, doing shit in this game takes forever, and I don't really feel like sifting through 9 hours of recordings just to find the perfect run, because sometimes my perfect run just fails at the end because of those reasons. Like, legitimately, there are some successful runs that are not as good as failed runs, because I may not have the same type of orb luck early on, but I end up still winning because I can actually fucking nuke at the end. Whereas failed runs are perfect until turn 8, turn 9, whenever I'm ready to nuke. So, maybe I'll go ahead and do that for you guys. Let me know if you guys would want to see it. But all in all, Momiji, best AOE DPS in the game, not even close. With Benimaru, she's fantastic. Benimaru by himself sucks. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.